On today's episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show, we're going to be discussing Reed Sheppard's Summer League performances. He played 2 games and got up out of there. So Will and I are going to break it down like we said. So stay tuned for this episode. You're not going to miss it.
All right, and welcome back to the episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show. You guys heard Brad in the introduction. Today, we're going to be discussing what happened between Reed Sheppard's 2 Summer League games. He played one game last Friday against the Clippers, and then he played another game on Sunday against the Pistons, and then the Rockets shut him down Monday before the game against the Hawks. So he only had 2 games of Summer League to kind of go off of. Not the biggest sample size, but still to talk about. So I'm going to pass it off to Brad, and he kind of give his general takeaways and thoughts on Reed Sheppard's performance in Summer League.
Before I start, I got to give my boy Will his props. I don't know if y'all seen, but he just got a new podcast with the right Reed. Really good group of guys. It's him, Zay. I'm about to say Zay, Isaiah twice. You got Zay, Assad, and my boy, why am I blanking? My nigga Dre. Yeah, Dre. So, yeah, that's a great group. That's a great group. So I'm excited for Will. It's going to be really good. They got live shows and all that stuff going. So, yeah, man, I had to give you the floor real quick. I'm going to pass it back to you, man. How you feel, bro? That's a good group. Y'all got something dropping soon, right?
Yeah, well, I guess by the time this is live, the other episode will also be live. So, every Friday we're dropping. Committed to doing once a week pod, not just covering the Rockets, but just the NBA as a whole. And yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, a good group of guys. We talk basketball pretty much all the time, so it's kind of easy to get in front of a camera and do it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Y'all definitely tap in with that. But yeah, for Reed Sheppard, first game, he started off, pretty slow. I liked, the processing, the defense. He had a ton of stocks in that game. He had like 4 steals, 3 blocks. He looked really good in that department. That's what I was looking for most. He even went on ESPN interview and was like, hey, I've just been practicing defense like for the first 40 minutes of the workout without touching the basketball. Then I'll touch the basketball. If he wants to get on the floor for Ime Udoka, he's really going to have to step it up on the defensive side of the floor. So I saw that, but we drafted him to shoot the basketball, and he was not shooting the rock very well. Definitely to start that first game. He ended up finishing 6 of 15 from 3, had a really hot streak in that third quarter. We had 3 threes in the final 50 seconds. 3, like he had a step back, probably like a 30-footer, and then another step back, like a snatchback 3. And that was really promising to see because it was a nasty performance before then. But it's Summer League at the end of the day. He's the only guy out there that's warranting defensive pressure. So defenses are keying all of their energy on Reed Sheppard. That it was not the best Summer League team that they have. I will give a shout out to Kenny Chandler. He's been hooping. But yeah, Reed, just the first game against slow start, he finished pretty well. So and overall, he had like 28 points, 7 boards. 4 assists, I want to say. So he looked solid, in my opinion, the first game after a slow start. A few sloppy turnovers, but I wasn't too mad at it. What would you say, Will?
So he had 28 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 3 blocks, 10 to 25 from the field, 6 to 15 from the 3-point line for a 52 true shooting. He only had 3 turnovers. I thought that the rebounding, obviously 8 rebounds. I believe that was a team high. Yes, that
wouldn't surprise me. Yeah,
and it might have been a game. No, it was not a game high. Jordan Miller had 11, and I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's last name. But on the Clippers, he had 10. But yeah, he had the most rebounds for sure on the Rockets, and the 3rd most rebounds in the game, and that's as a 6'1", 6'2" point guard, maybe. The 4 assists, I don't think that accurately depicts how well he moved the basketball because he had a lot of really good skips, a lot of great cross-court passes. He threw, I know he for sure threw a lob, and I'm sure if that was the only one he threw.
He got one off to Dante.
It was to Dante. And so like he moved. Honestly, like if you go back and look at the film, it's honestly like pristine textbook passes, like some of the most beautiful passes you'll ever see. So like I love the way he moved the basketball. The Rockets Summer League team was just bad, so they didn't convert any of the open threes. Like Nate Williams, my goodness, he got cut for a good reason. And then the 4 steals and 3 blocks. I think that was probably the best part about Reed's game is that not only
Mhm.
was he not getting picked on defensively, I would say that he rose to the occasion and elevated his play on the defensive end, and that is something that a lot of people were kind of concerned with Reed about was would he be picked on in the half court set defensively? And I've always been saying I think defense is just effort based, and when you want to play defense and you're smart enough to play defense like Reed is, you're going to be a good defender, and that's what we saw. You know, the caveat being these are summer league guys, but even with that, he was very active defensively. He made a lot of game altering plays on the defensive end, and I think that's something that's going to translate. But the reason why I don't like give him like an A+ flying with colors for this game is the fact that he did have 28 points on 25 shots, 6 of 15 from three. I believe is exactly 40%.
It is exactly 40. Yeah.
So like that is that on 50 attempts. That's like an amazing clip. But I will contextualize that a lot of these shots are open. There was a couple of like grenades and like him just throwing stuff up to like beat the buzzer, stuff like that. Like that was definitely included in this 15. But there's also in this 15 a decent amount of just open looks, and not just from three, but from the mid range. He airballed a layup, in that game. So like there was different times where he had open shots, makeable shots, shots that we should expect him to make, and he didn't make them. And one of my biggest things, I said this for sure. I think I said it on the Rockets Collective podcast, and this is how I felt honestly for years. It was the same philosophy that I used to kind of tell myself that Daishen Nix wasn't going to be that good, and I figured Josh Christopher wasn't too far behind him. When you are a year two player in summer league, you're supposed to be really good. That's typically how you're supposed to be able to distinguish yourself from your peers who are guys who are coming out of college or fighting for a spot in the league. Like if you're an NBA player in year two, you're supposed to be good. And we saw that with Jabari and Tari when they played in year two. It wasn't even close to the best players in the court was. Jabari was out of his mind for those last like 6 quarters that he played in summer league, and Tari as well. Tari was just dominant, even in his own like unique way. And that's how it's supposed to look when you are a guy who is an NBA player who is in year two in summer league. And Reed didn't look that way this game to me from a scoring perspective, which was kind of concerning. But he kind of fixed it with the 3-point percentage towards the end of the game. The real concerning part to me is that on Sunday, when he followed that game up, I was hoping that we would see him. Now that he's got his feet wet, he dominate. And Sunday it was a disaster. He didn't have nowhere near as many of the same skip passes or cross-court passes. The playmaking wasn't there. He had 3 turnovers on Friday, and I want to say a couple of those were like the fault of other people, not just his fault. The 6 he had on Sunday were his fault. Like I remember him throwing passes out of bounds, dribbling off his foot, different stuff like that. And then he had 18 points on 19 shots. He was 1 of 7 from the 3-point line. And once again, like these are all makeable shots. Like I don't really subscribe to the notion that he was getting like Jordan ruled. They weren't double teaming him and pressing him full court. He had a lot of good looks and he just missed them. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I am concerned about Reed Sheppard. Like I don't think he's a bust. I can't draw any definitive conclusions about Reed based upon this 2-game sample size. I will say it's not encouraging. And I really do wish we would have got a third and even a fourth game of Reed to kind of really see where he was at. Because like I said, I do think that you're supposed to dominate in year two, and when you don't, that usually is that's usually the beginning of the end for NBA players. And so yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, that game too wasn't good at all. I was literally in the process of moving my house, and I rushed back to watch, and I did not need to watch that game by any means. But yeah, I mean, looking at his stat line, he was 6 of 19 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3. And as Will mentioned, you look at the year two guys in the summer league. We saw Jabari year two. He had a rough first half of his first game, great second half of that first game. But then the second game, he dominated the Pistons. Like he had like 35, and he was up out of there. I really wanted to see the same with Reed. Strong finish for the first game, and then the second game, you wanted to see him really say, "Hey, like I'm too good for this setting." And as Will mentioned, we didn't necessarily see that. So it would have been nice to see him again for a third or fourth game. But I know he had that. Will, remind me, what was the injury he had? Was it a calf?
A calf injury.
Yeah.
I'll throw this caveat out there as well.
Yeah.
Game 2, you could definitely tell that he was hobbled. Like I will cut him that much bail. This is not like one of those injuries where it's like they just made it up to get him out of summer league.
Yeah.
No, he was definitely hobbled. You could see him limping at times. You can see him not hustling at times. So like I will cut him that much grace to like maybe part of his performance was the fact that he wasn't at 100%. But at the same time, like I said, I think a lot of the shots were just makeable. And some of the decisions he made were kind of on him. So I don't want to blame the injury for all of it.
I do agree with that too. I want to say a lot of the shots he took as well were kind of out of his shot palette. You can go back to what he was doing at Kentucky. He played very within his game. He didn't even take a lot of threes at Kentucky. But, in this role, Houston wants him to be more aggressive. He was way too conservative his first year with the Rockets. So rightfully so, he's being aggressive. But a lot of the shots he was taking, I don't necessarily see him taking, on the Rockets' actual roster. I'm not talking about the open threes he missed. He's got to hit those. There's no excuse for that. But I did see some shots in the in-between range where I was like, Reed, that's not your game, bro. So, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily an issue from that department. He's just really got to hit his open threes. Like, do what you were supposed to do when you were drafted and play the defense that you were, playing in the summer league. As Will mentioned, you can't really draw too much from summer league, but I did like the effort that I saw. I like the aggression. The shots just have to fall. Again, 52% at Kentucky. First year in the NBA was like 31.8%. So I'd like to see that get to, he was 33.8%, my fault. But I'd like to see him get to above league average for sure. He should be really, really sniping for Houston. So that's what I'm looking for. He's not going to be the star player. If he was going to be, the Rockets drafted Jalen Green first in the rebuild. If that was Reed's role and, he's supposed to be the guy for the team, I would be very, I'd probably be pretty concerned. But, that's not his role in the Rockets. I just want him to have that off-ball gravity, which he's going to have. Will talked about on the Rockets Collective podcast. People are really guarding Reed when he's on the floor. They're not leaving him just wide open. He may get open looks here and there, but they're not just letting him, hey, go ahead and shoot. As we saw with guys like Dylan Brooks, even though he shot 40%, they were leaving him open. They were letting him shoot. Sheppard, they're really, onto him when he's roaming around the three-point line. So that's beneficial. But again, the shots just have to fall, and that's really just what boils down for him. So yeah, last thing I'll say is, the playmaking I did like. The first game he probably could have had 10 plus assists, and that's why Nate Williams got cut. He got cut. He shot 4-15 and got cut right away. So I really think the playmaking looks solid. But again, sloppy second game. Got to clean that up. Can't draw too much from summer league. I just hope he's able to, produce, when the season starts, because Houston's coming into the season with what, 3 guards total, you would say, Will? So
yeah, it's just Fred, Amin, and Reed.
Yeah, and then Aaron as a backup plan.
Yeah, I'll say the last thing I'll say is, even though, like I said, it wasn't the most encouraging summer league, it was just 2 games. And like I said, for maybe one of those games, he might have been a bit banged up. So like, don't invest too much stock into it, right? I think we need a larger sample size to draw that type of conclusion from. And what I did was I looked up just some numbers for Reed. In summer league last year, he averaged 20 points per game, 5 assists per game, 5 rebounds per game, 4 stocks, 57 true shooting. And his G League performance, I think he was over there for like 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
He averaged 31 points per game, 8 assists per game, 4 rebounds per game, 4 stocks per game on 64 true shooting. And then I believe this is also 3 starts in the regular season. He averaged 20 points per game, 5 assists per game, 3 rebounds per game, 3 stocks per game on 64 true shooting again. And so, like, obviously you want to see him dominate summer league, but it was a 2-game sample, one of which he might have been banging up a little bit. So even though it wasn't the most encouraging, and it is something me personally, I'm going to be monitoring. Because like even something as simple as just not being able to get somewhat separation, like to me that was a concern. It's not enough for me to ring the alarm and say that he's a bust or that we need to be looking for other options, because there is still reason to believe that he will be able to be that backup point guard for the Rockets next season. So, like I said, it's just something that we monitor.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I wanted to throw this out there. Today, this just happened today. Portland Trailblazers just picked up Damian Lillard again. I didn't see that coming. They also have Drew Holiday that they traded for. And, they obviously do have Scoot Henderson. So, I mean, it's kind of getting crowded, and Drew Holiday is probably going to get out of there soon. I wanted to ask your thoughts, and then I'll respond about, Drew Holiday. I know I saw you tweet about it today. What do you think about that possibility? If, I'm assuming, going right into the season, you got to rock with your team. And Stone even mentioned that, like, hey, this is the group we're going out there with. He even said, hey, Reed's going to have to be really good. The only reason I would ever think about getting a Drew Holiday-esque guy would be, one, he has to get bought out. So that hasn't happened yet. But if Reed is struggling, maybe Houston goes in that direction. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on
Not if Drew Holiday gets bought out, which who knows. I actually think he might retire,
Mm-hmm.
then play in Portland. But if he gets bought out, yeah, I'm all over that. I
Yeah.
mean, he's a guy who can play defense. He can dribble. He shot 40% on catch and shoot threes. He's a winner, right? He went to Boston, went to Milwaukee, won. He's a leader. He's a vet. He never played for Ime, but he seems like the kind of guy who Ime Udoka would love to play on his team. And so for me, it's and on top of, like, if he's getting bought out, that's probably because he's signing here for like a vet minimum. So like, yeah, I think that Drew Holiday on a vet min is he an upgrade to Aaron Holiday? Answer that question to me is yes, and I think he's a sizable one at that. So no, I'd be all over that.
Yeah. As a backup option for sure, I would definitely be willing to get Drew Holiday. And even if not, I mean that's good depth to have. He's a champion, 2-time champion. Last two spots he won championship. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind that at all. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, we don't have any more Rockets-esque hoops to really discuss until Şengün goes to the Eurobasket in August. That's like August 27th he starts. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, it's just that time to the off season where it's like, all right, damn, we have no hoops. It's dead. So we just have to wait for the KD, led Rockets and Amin Thompson to hit the scene. So I am excited for that. I will say, well, did you see Amin Thompson's workout with the Guard Whisperer?
I saw clips of it. Yeah,
I need to go back and watch that. But I'm excited for him, man. If he gets that jump shot going, it'd definitely be scary. But again, it's just that time of the offseason. There's not much to talk about. But Will and I definitely have some fun things planned, in this time period. So make sure you stay tuned. Will, did you have anything else you wanted to mention in this show?
No, appreciate y'all for watching.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, make sure you tap into Will. He's on the new Right Read podcast. Really good group of guys. They're dropping very soon. So stay tuned for that. But that's the episode of Brad and Will Show. We appreciate you guys for listening.